What's up everyone, welcome back to Jades Corner. If I end up sounding a little weird throughout the duration of this video, it's because my throat sound is a little sore and I may sound a little under the weather, so if I sound weird throughout the video, that's why. But on this newest edition of the Fantasy Fight series, we'll settle the score on who would win in a fight to the death between Negan Smith and Philip Blake. These two characters from The Walking Dead possess incredible strength that would make a fight between them epic, and these two will be fighting at their absolute peaks. So for Negan, it'll be season 7 and 8 Negan. For the Governor, it'll be season 4's incarnation of the Governor. So join me as we break down the battle between these two vicious characters regarding strength and skill, speed, agility, durability, endurance, combat experience, and hacks. But before we begin this fight to the death, if you're new here, subscribe, hit that like button, and ring the notification bell to stay up to date on all things supernatural, including these thrilling battles. Now let's see who wins this battle between the leader of the Saviors and the Governor.
The world's fiercest fighters await! Will you be the last warrior standing? Are you ready? Who will emerge a champion? Let's get started!
Hi, I'm Negan, and I do not appreciate you killing my men. Also, when I sent my people to kill your people for killing my people, you killed more of my people. You are so gonna regret crossing me in a few minutes. Lucille, give me strength.
They found Wells. They got him. They found him.
We sure did. We found you too.
The fence. In your cars, get your guns. We go in. Kill them all.
It's the battle of the century! Fight!
Alright, so for the strength and skill category, we're gonna give it to the Governor. Negan is an expert in various aspects of survival skills. He's a master of using various stealth tactics, such as blending in with walkers or zombies, whichever term you want to use, using his Whisperer outfit. He also hid in a tight space from a marshal in The Walking Dead Dead City. He is proficient in using melee weapons, such as his iconic combat knife and his infamous barbed wire baseball bat Lucille, which he named after his deceased wife. And he is also proficient in using various firearms, though Negan's best skill set in a fight is his hand-to-hand combat using Lucille. For his attack potency and striking power, he's on par with Rick, well, at least before The Walking Dead The Ones Who Live, and is comparable to Daryl, who is a decent fighter who is able to trade blows with Beta, someone who survived falling down an elevator shaft. He knocks out Carver with a bell, overpowers Maggie Ree while being injured, and crushed Simon's neck, a feat which took him some time to do before he killed him, which would scale him to around wall level. He can also casually crush walker heads with a single stomp of his foot, and as mentioned before, he's able to fight on par with a pre-CRM Rick Grimes, and did so on at least 3 different occasions. He gutted Spencer Monroe, slit Alpha's throat and decapitated her off screen, and can easily crush the head of a human, which requires anywhere from 3,000 to 3,900 joules of energy to accomplish. For lifting strength, he was able to push Rick out of a window, easily overpower Maggie, and threw Dr. Carson into a large fire pit. The most impressive of these feats would be his ability to withstand the recoil of a sawed-off shot while wielding it with one hand. As for the Governor, or Philip Blake, he is a master at using firearms and is able to withstand the recoil of any gun he's seen wielding on screen, even using one hand sometimes. He is an expert hand-to-hand combatant, even able to beat the ever-living shit out of Rick Grimes, even when shot in the shoulder above his right arm, and using that same right arm to nearly kill Rick by beating him to near death in season 4 episode 8, Too Far Gone. He is also an expert with survival skills, and he's also comparable to Daryl for his attack potency and striking strength. He injured Merle pretty badly and easily snapped his arm. He crushed a man's skull with a blunt instrument and has killed several walkers with his bare hands. He even destroys a soldier's skull with the butt of a rifle and was able to knock out Michonne. He even completely destroyed both Michonne and Rick in their respective fights and would have killed both of them if it hadn't been for convenient circumstances occurring, such as the glass Michonne grabbed to stab out his eye, or Michonne coming out of nowhere and stabbing him through the chest with her katana. For lifting strength, he scales to peak human levels which far outclasses Negan. He was able to tear off 2 of Merle's fingers just with his teeth, which is wild, and can drag a human around with one hand, such as when he dragged Martinez in season 4 episode 7. And he was even able to separate the jaw off of a walker with a bone, which is insanely impressive for any normal human to do. So for strength and skill, in my honest opinion, it has to go to the governor.
Will the tide of battle turn? What will happen now?
For speed, I'm actually going to give this to Negan. He's far faster than the governor, being able to blitz a group of whisperers, and members from this group, at least some of them, are able to react to sword swings with no issues. He moved Lucille to cover his face before Rosita was able to fire her gun at his head in season 7 episode 8 of The Walking Dead, also known as Heart Still Beating. As for the governor, he should scale to at least below Negan and should be superior to Rick because he was able to get the drop on Rick numerous times in their fight in season 4, but we really don't see him utilize his speed that often, so I'm gonna give this to Negan.
And the battle continues. Let's keep it up.
For agility, we're actually going to give this to Negan as well. He dodged gunfire from an MP5AZ and dodged a throwing knife from close range. And as for the governor, he doesn't really use his agility well at all when fighting and seems to be more like a vicious brute when fighting, since he's naturally very strong, and obviously, as mentioned in the strength category, he's stronger than Negan. So for this, it's gotta go to Negan, of course.
Pick up the pace.
So for durability, we're actually going to give this to governor, even though Negan is very close, so you can consider this to be a tie if you want to in the comments. Let me know what your opinions are on this. It could be a tie, but personally I'm going to go with the governor, even though Negan's durability feats are very impressive as well. He survived a motorcycle crash, tanked hits from Simon, quickly recovered after Rick hit him with a bell so hard that he fell backwards, withstood blows from Maida, who could easily throw Daryl around, and survived a car crash and was still in shape enough to fight Rick, and was unharmed after having his head bashed against the wall a few times. He even shrugged off a punch from Enraged season 11 Daryl, which is considered to be physically the strongest version of Daryl, at least prior to The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. And as for the governor, he tanked hits from pre-CRM Rick Grimes, Merle, and Michonne, 3 fighters who are no joke in their own right and can fight pretty well. Well, Rick now, maybe not Rick in the main show, but Rick in After the Walking Dead's The Ones Who Live. He also fell into a pit without getting harmed. In my opinion, I think that this can be a tie, but I'm gonna give it to the governor slightly because he also survived for a couple of minutes. Like, he was still kicking and breathing to a certain extent and trying to move around after getting stabbed in the heart, and being able to tank that and still move, like most people would die instantly, but the governor was able to still at least move his body to a degree. So yeah, just for that gives him the durability edge alone in my opinion. But like I said, it could be a tie because Negan's durability feats are very impressive too. For this, we're gonna give it to the governor.
Which of these 2 challengers will walk away a champion? Anything can happen now.
For endurance, we're also going to give this to the governor as well. For Negan, he walked through a storm to find Judith Grimes and carried her on his back to Alexandria with an injured leg. He didn't eat anything for days when he was on a hunger strike while trying to kill himself, and he walked from Alexandria to the sanctuary without eating or drinking anything for several kilometers. As for the governor, he still managed to even beat up Rick after he was shot in the shoulder above his right arm, and beat up Rick with the same arm as mentioned in the strength category. I think that feat far outseeds Negan's feat of being able to walk from Alexandria to Sanctuary without eating or drinking anything for several kilometers, because being able to get shot and still beating somebody to death, pretty much, not literally to death, but near death, with that same right arm is just nuts. So yeah, in my opinion, endurance goes to the governor.
This bout will determine who is the strongest once and for all.
For combat experience, we're gonna give this to Negan, of course. Negan has had the opportunity to fight more people and be put into more scenarios with various combatants, including different walker variants due to living longer. And as for the governor, he's outclassed by the simple fact that he didn't survive long enough into the apocalypse and has only fought humans and normal walkers. So this easily goes to Negan. It's not even up for debate.
Pull out all the stops. Who will emerge victorious?
As for experience, this goes to Negan as well. Negan lived longer than the apocalypse and is even still alive as of the recording of this video and as of the ending of The Walking Dead, Dead City Season 1 almost 20 years after the apocalypse started. He's also very gifted with his intelligence and is smarter than the governor. He's a skilled public speaker and led the Saviors to victory for quite some time. He outsmarted Rick Grimes constantly and would have won the war against Alexandria during All Out War in season 8 had it not been for Eugene's betrayal. He also taught himself how to give someone chemotherapy, which even impressed a doctor. So yeah, Negan is very intelligent. As for the governor, he died in the early days of the apocalypse and only survived about 2.5 years into the series at the time of his death. He has above average intelligence and he was able to manipulate the entirety of Woodbury, Merle, and Martinez's camp, in which the only person whom Rick couldn't manipulate into joining the prison group. So for this, it's got to go to Negan 100%. Again, no debates, no discussions, there's no arguing this.
It all comes down to this. This match decides the winner. This is the last round.
And last but certainly not least, we have Hacks. Since these two are fighting at their peaks, we're going to be giving them their standard equipment that we always see them using. So for Negan, he's going to have Lucille, which is the baseball bat covered in barbed wire, and his huge combat knife, which he used to kill Dave and Spencer. As for the governor, his standard equipment that he usually uses most of the time is an AUG A1 and a Beretta 92SB. So that's what we're going to give both of these characters for this battle as well. In my opinion, firearms always outclasses melee weapons. The governor has to win Hacks here just by default. And now for who wins. In my opinion, this is going to be a tie. Either one wins, to be honest, depending on the circumstance, but for the sake of picking a single winner, in most scenarios I can see the governor winning. Although Negan outclasses him in combat experience, speed, and agility, the governor's hand-to-hand combat is only outclassed by the higher tier fighters such as Carver, Beta, Daryl, Jesus, and Morgan, and as well as Okafor, just to name a few. He is also not as sympathetic as Negan, and Negan was a psychopath at least before he reformed in season 9 after the time skip, but the governor is a cold-hearted killer who does not give a fuck and has a very unhinged personality, aggression, and rage, the likes of which would even make Negan flinch. This makes him extremely dangerous and unpredictable, and Negan is somewhat predictable and can be countered in most occasions, but the biggest determining factor here is both of their performances when fighting against Rick Grimes, the main protagonist of the franchise. Rick suffered his worst beatdown by far in the entire franchise at the hands of the governor, beating him to near death so badly that it took a long time, about 4 or 5 days give or take, if not longer, even after he was able to help himself again, for him to physically recover from the injuries he sustained in that fight. In the events of after, he was so beat up after the fight that he even passed out and was unconscious due to the number of injuries sustained, and he needed Carl's help to get things done since he was too beat up to physically do most things. If Michonne didn't interfere and stab him in the heart, the governor would have 100% killed Rick in that final battle, as even when injured he was still destroying Rick pretty easily and beating him to death with the same arm in which he sustained a gunshot wound to the shoulder above it. Negan struggled with Rick in every encounter he had with him to the point where it almost felt like a joke watching both of these characters fight. Neither character was able to fully overpower the other and were pretty much on par, with Negan being just very slightly superior due to him being physically bigger than Rick. But we haven't seen Rick get destroyed in a fight the way the governor bodied him. It can go either way, though Negan could very well win here too. So yeah, for this, I'm gonna say the governor wins. Very high difficulty. Sorry, Negan, but
You lose.
Finish him.
Your time has run out. Fatality.
if you enjoyed this video though, don't forget to leave a like, as it helps this video perform better in the algorithm and reach more people. Comment your thoughts on this video below. I go through all the comments, so any feedback is appreciated. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider making today that day. When you subscribe, don't forget to hit that bell icon and set those notifications to all so that you never miss a future video. Also, don't forget to join my Discord server, linked below. All my socials and other versus battle channels are linked in the description and pinned comment as well. But until next time, this is Jades Corner, signing off. Peace. And now, a sneak peek and tease for the next Fantasy Fights video.